Mr. Spane, tell us about yourself. Where do you come from, and where where you're from, and your previous experience? How about those things?
Sure. So originally grew up in the Moreau-Forsyth community. Attended Moreau-Forsyth schools my whole career. Graduated and went into teaching. And met my wife Lauren. We have 5 kids. She's in education as well, and so the last 15 years we've been up north, north of Interstate 80 up there.
Oh, wow.
Working for a couple different schools up there, east and west. She's originally from Morris, and so when it came the opportunity that we thought it was right to start, looking for a superintendency, we applied to a few up there, a few down here, and just went with what felt right. And Mount Pulaski and Fred have been phenomenal. And Fred spoke to the transition. It's been great, just bouncing things off each other for the last 6 months. Plenty of phone calls. Watching from afar, but still, feeling like you're very much a part of it. And so,
text messages and emails and.
Absolutely, Fred's left the bases loaded for sure. For me,
yeah. Now, it was your vision a small district? What did you want in a superintendency position?
That's a great question. All I've ever worked at is smaller schools.
Oh, okay.
The largest school I've ever worked at is Peatone, and when I was head football coach there, we had 650 kids. It's down to about 450 now, but that's kind of where I felt my strong suit was. I feel like you have stronger relationships in smaller schools, and that's really what it's all about for me. Is that's what education is. It's about relationships and relationships with kids, and so that's all I've ever worked at is smaller schools, and so that's kind of what I applied to, and again went through the interview process at Pulaski with the board and with their hiring committee and with Vic Zimmerman. He told me to tell you hi, by the way.
Yes, love Vic. Yeah, sure, awesome, cool, love him. He's a good guy. Hey, tell me. Why, you're a head football coach. Why get out of coaching to go into administration?
Great question. And the teaching salary and head football salary doesn't help you as much with 5 kids. I'll say that. So.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I mean, honestly, it was a situation where I had found out that my passion in life was not necessarily to coach, but to mentor kids. That's where I felt my strengths were, and so I could either mentor 80 of them on a football field or 450 of them in a building, and that's kind of where my passion grew, and for leadership, and so it's definitely continued to grow, and it came to the point in time where I wanted to be that face of a school district and lead them. Continue to lead them down a very, very positive road and make an impact.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say I remember that too when I made that transition, and I was a varsity coach as well, and that was the hardest thing I did was leave my athletes behind in the family and the community. But I think part of it is when you are a head coach, you tend to be climbers. And some people use that climbing. They go to different varsity jobs, go different places. And I just watched so many people be principals and superintendents above me, and I saw so many decisions that I'm like, I wouldn't make that decision, or I wouldn't do that, but I didn't have any control over it. And I guess to an extent, when you're superintendent, you're a little bit of a control freak. And if somebody's going to make the wrong decision, I wanted it to be me because I wanted to make it the right decision then. And I think that's kind of what pulled me out of it and took me to where I wanted to go.
Well, and you spoke to the relationship piece of it. The more advanced you go in the administration side, the farther from the student you get. So speak to that a little bit from your perspective, and maybe dealing more with staff and those relationships rather than the students.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a part of it. Is not necessarily being around the kids on a day-to-day basis, but. One thing about schools is we can walk out of the office and see them in the hallway and still intermix. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. My kids range from going to be a junior in high school next year to a year and a half. So we've got a very, very broad landscape. And
there's going to be about 36 preschool students right around the corner from your office that keep you grounded every single day.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest things in the world. You walk in, you walk out to meetings, and you see this hallway full of 4 and 5 year old kids out there, and that's at least a nice contact that you still get to keep with them.
Yeah, for
Absolutely. Sure. But then you can see a scope of the decisions you make as a superintendent and how it impacts those kids.
Right.
And those are very, very important decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And certainly decisions I want to be a part of. And to live within the Mount Pulaski community is something that I wanted to do as well. Through my whole road through administration, I've always lived within the boundaries of the school district, and I felt not that that's required, but I felt like that's an important piece because I wanted that vested interest. It's not just the kids of the community, but it's my kids in those buildings too.
Yeah,
So,
right. Exactly. That's a huge piece to it. Speak to what you have learned over time about relationships with your staff, because that is going to be such a huge piece of being a superintendent. How about that?
it is. It's integral. I think, I told Fred and the board that my number one goal this first year was just to be a sponge. I think to be a good listener, you have to be a great. To be a good leader, you got to be a great listener. So that's what I really want to do is strengthen those relationships. Listen to people. Tell me where you feel your strong suits are, and tell me where you feel that we can grow. And it's my job to put the rubber to the road and make that happen. And so that's what I'm really, really excited about. And again, the foundation is incredibly strong. We've had the elementary school in Mount Pulaski was rated exemplary in the state of Illinois. Danielle Laura does a great job, and Heather Frickett does a great job at the high school. And so Trent Cavalman is, an awesome athletic director who's transitioning back into a teaching role, and so just a lot of opportunity to continue to build those strong relationships that Fred has done such an outstanding job.
And
with.
I've been asked, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked since Christmas, what's the Spane guy like? Who is he? And the biggest thing I've taken away from Jason is that he's going to be able to develop those relationships. He's a good person. He's a good dude. And, there's a lot of things. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but it takes relationships to make things happen. And I really believe that's going to be what makes him a really strong leader for Mount Pulaski, is because he's got a good vision and he's great at building relationships and working with people. And that's, to me, that's one of his biggest strengths. I think that needs to be one of the biggest strengths a superintendent has.
That is Mr. Fred Lamkey. He is the outgoing superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools, and Mr. Jason Spane is the incoming superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Spane, what have you learned about Mount Pulaski, the community, the school district, in your transitional time here?
Well, one of the things that drew me to Mount Pulaski, not knowing what I know now, was just my experience, going through schools at Moreau and competing against Mount Pulaski kids. They have a lot of grit, and they just, everything they do hard, whether it's in the classroom or on the athletic field or running their businesses. And
They're passionate.
Absolutely. And so that's what kind of drew me in, and that's just strengthened it along the way. So really, really look forward to continuing to build those. But I've learned a lot about the community. We do live within the district boundaries now. We got a house in Elkhart, so we're
Nice little town.
yeah, it's great. We went to the stores downtown a couple weeks ago. We just took our kids to the community pool in Pulaski last night. So again, we're starting to get settled, get out, again, strengthen those relationships, and we're just incredibly excited.
I didn't really want to get into some of these things already, but man, a word you just said, just a light bulb went off in my head. It's grit. And I just hear so much from administrators and folks within the school walls that right now our kids just lack grit. They lack resiliency. What can you do about that in the superintendent's chair?
Well, I feel like, not to talk about me, but I'm 5'5". I've been undersized my whole life, and I say that kiddingly with Fred, because Fred's a short guy too. I always tell Fred.
I noticed that when you guys came in, I wouldn't say anything, but it's like two short dudes in the studio today.
I will not be the shortest superintendent in history of Mount Pulaski though.
No, you will not. But all kidding aside, that's something that if you want to call it a try-hard mentality, I've always just learned to persevere and push through, and that's led me to success. So, with that word grit, I definitely feel like I have a strong sense of what that means. And just a couple weeks ago in one of Tom Brady's speeches, he came out and said, to be incredibly successful in life, you don't necessarily have to be special. You just have to be willing to make sacrifices, put the work in, and to Fred's comments.
That was a great speech, by the way.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
And it resonates in so many places in life.
It does.
And so, through my experience, as long as we give kids that gritty mindset, if you will, in the classroom, then that effort will take them to many high places in life.
For sure. Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, let's take a break here. We'll come back and maybe talk about Mr. Spane's vision for the district and Mr. Lamkey, your assessment on what you're leaving here for Mr. Spane. In the meantime, again, that is Mr. Fred Lamkey. He is the outgoing superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Jason Spane takes over for him here in the next few weeks. We'll talk more with these gentlemen coming up on the morning show.
WHOW.
LFB.org.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all trading lower at this hour. July corn down 5.5, 444.5. September corn 449 down 6 3/4. New crop December 461 1/4 down 6.5. July beans down 1 3/4, 1172 1/4. August beans down 3.5, 1152 1/2. New crop November 1123 down 9. July wheat down 10 3/4, 571 1/4. September wheat down 11 1/4, 587 3/4. July bean meal 361.10 down 350. July bean oil 44.78 up 48 cents. Livestock market June live cattle 187.42 up 75 cents. August feeders 261.20 up $1.25. July lean hogs 92.27 down $1.50. Energy market July crude oil up 70 cents 82.27.
If you're looking for a local, full or part-time job in Central Illinois, there's an easy place to go to find current job openings. It's IllinoisJobPost.com. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. You'll find jobs available near you. And the best part is that it's free for candidates to access 24/7. If you want a local job, when you don't have to spend a lot of money on gas to get to, then you want access to IllinoisJobPost.com to check out current local job openings. That web address again is IllinoisJobPost.com. Another service from your friends at the Miller Media Group.
Hi, this is Connie at Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton. This month, our whole store is on sale because your total purchase is 10% off. Come check out our huge selection of adult, kids, and summer clothes. And remember, everything is 10% off. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or DivaDailyNews.com.
Hi, this is Ryan Utterback with Utterback Real Estate. It's greening up out there.
Time to work on my golf game.
And a perfect time to make that big move.
Like when my ball moves towards that tree. Oh, geez. 4.
And that's why you're the other Ryan.
Call Utterback Real Estate or click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest in studio today, Mr. Fred Lamkey, is the outgoing superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Jason Spane is coming in, and he is going to be the new superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Lamkey, give us your assessment on the Mount Pulaski district and what Mr. Spane is taking over from you.
In some ways, I ask myself why I'm leaving Mount Pulaski, but I think it's just my time.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Pulaski is in such a great spot for Jason to take them forward. It's always been a great school district. The people there are so loyal. They're so empathetic. They care so much about things. If somebody needs something in Mount Pulaski, they're there to fill the need. And it's just a great community, and we're just really blessed right now with the resources that have allowed us to make vast improvements to our district. We have phenomenal administrators at the high school, Heather Fricky and Danielle Laura at the grade school, and the leadership is there, and leadership can't really do much without the staff and people ready to follow. And our staff, whether it be paraprofessionals, certified teachers, whoever it is, custodians, they've all been very willing to look at change and to look at how do we improve, how do we become better. So I really think, I thought Jason made a nice comment earlier. He said the bases are loaded, and the bases are loaded because those people in Mount Pulaski have done such a great job moving forward. And a lot of times you'll have one or two pieces of that puzzle, but Mount Pulaski has all the pieces of that puzzle. Mm-hmm. New facilities, great leadership, a great school district, and just an awesome community. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really promising. I've had some people say, why didn't you stay around longer? I'm going to take an interim principal or superintendency in Waverly. Why didn't you stay here and do that? And I said over and over, because Mount Pulaski deserves more than that. And in that, I really believe that they're set up for that success moving forward. And I really think it's key. Jason, what are you, 42?
43, you just turned 43.
43 and I'm 56, and 13 years doesn't seem like a big difference, but when you're talking about education, he is so more in tuned to things that are happening in a classroom than I am right now. And I think it's a great time we're handing off that ball to somebody younger, somebody that's more savvy with technology, somebody that's closer to instructional strategies, new instructional strategies that can take them the rest away. So to me, that's kind of where we're at, and I think it's just a perfect timing of a transition to a guy like Jason.
You know, I hear a lot in these transitions, you know, the predecessor, you know, left behind X, you know, a lot of money, you know, great facilities, great, excuse me, technology, those sorts of things. Mr. Spane, what does Mr. Lamkey leave for you that you're looking forward to?
Oh my gosh, just you know.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. Fred and I are in a lot of ways the same person. You know, I think the way we approach relationships, the way we manage people, and so I think that familiarity was why it was such a good fit for me and the Pulaski School District. And so just again continuing to build and advance the foundation that he set there. Right. You know, at our last board meeting, we just transferred about $3 million to our capital projects fund, and you know, we're looking to break ground on a new athletic facility this fall.
Oh, really? Tell us. Do you mind telling us about that?
No, and Fred knows more about it than I, but from the limited conversations I've had and the meetings we've had is we're discussing the acquisition of Veterans Park, which is on the north side of town. Okay. And we've almost completed that, but that's going to be that's the current location of the baseball, softball field right now. But we're looking at a new track facility.
Yeah, Mount Pulaski's never had their own outdoor athletic facilities. We've always relied on the city and the township to have those fields. And just this last spring, we purchased Veterans Park. But there's one corner out of Veterans Park that would really complete it that we don't have, and we're working with the local farming an owner of it that's going to sell us that corner, and that's going to happen this summer. And once we have that, it gives us enough room to put in an 8-lane track as opposed to our 6-lane cinder track. Okay. And to do some things different.
Yeah.
So why did you? But you didn't tell me about this. What the heck?
Well, I haven't said anything because we hadn't had the ground purchase.
Oh, okay.
And until then, it's just kind of a pipe dream. You know, it's just,
okay. Gotcha.
We don't know what we're going to get done. Even right now, we haven't purchased that final corner that we need to fit this track on our property. It's going to happen, but until it happens, the board's confident enough now, though. They moved money so we can start working on that project maybe as soon as this fall.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry, Mr. Spank. I didn't mean to get sidetracked there. So.
Hey, I'm not holding out on you, sir.
I appreciate that. Yeah. You never do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your thoughts there. So, when it comes to, let's talk curriculum side of things.
Absolutely.
You know, what's your I don't know. Do you have a foundational thought process, or like what do you think about curriculum in those things?
Yeah, no, for sure. So to me, it's about growth. You know, making progress. You know, where are we right now, and how can we improve throughout the course of the year, throughout the course of the next several years? Okay. You know, Mount Pulaski does go to the Fusion Conference every year, which is the NWA MAP conference, and so we're going to do that again this summer. We're going to go to Denver just next week. And learn up and coming strategies to make data-driven solutions with our curriculum, and with, you know, that stems from kids into the classroom, that stems to the kind of people we hire to teach those strategies. And so again, the elementary school was rated exemplary in the state of Illinois, which is a very high bar to be at, but that doesn't mean we can't grow and we can't learn. And so I'm excited to work and collaborate with those principals and deliver more strategies. You know,
and that's where there are schools that have benefit with a guy just coming out of the principalship, again, closer to instruction. I've been out of it for 10 years now. And for him to be that close to it, and we've been using MAP for testing data for years, but I take that back. We've had MAP testing data for years, didn't know how to use it. In the last 4 years, we started going to this Fusion Conference, and now we are using data, and you should see it empower teachers. And I think it's really exciting. Jason's going to this conference with a group of teachers here next week. And to me, that's where he's going to take us to the next step, because he's going to be more involved with those things and helping them out. So,
yeah. Well, and not even just with curriculum, you know, in today's age of education, especially post-COVID, you know, mental health is a big deal.
That's a good point.
And so, you know, working with our counselors, with our social workers, and being able to provide services to our kids who need them is incredibly important.
Yeah. So talk to me. Mr. Lamkey mentioned, you know, that 13-year difference. as you have gotten to know Mount Pulaski schools, is there something you have dialed in on that says we could do this better, or they're not necessarily addressed, but just something that you look at and say, there's so much potential with this that's tapped into at this point?
Sure. You know, I think Fred mentioned a big thing with technology. You know, I've learned the acronym DRIP, you know, which is data rich, information poor. So in other words, all districts have a lot of data. It's what you do with that data, as long as you're using that to drive improvements. So there's a lot of processes that we've acquired and that I've learned through bigger schools up north, that I'm excited to bring those ideas to Pulaski and to have conversations and find out if it's going to be the right fit.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that comes to mind is I went to a professional development and listened to Rebecca, who's the Illinois Teacher of the Year, and she worked for Oregon School District, and she had a it's like a check and balance system, and basically you track students' attendance, you track their Fs, you track a number of about 10 different data points, and you can really keep an eye on kids and make sure they don't fall through the cracks.
Right.
And so, you know, that's led to some of our success at Peatone with having some of the best freshman on track numbers in the state of Illinois.
Really?
And so we take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Mr. Spang, as you come into Mount Pulaski, how is your transition going? You know, speak to just how it's going to get going in terms of getting to know your administration, your staff. Where are you at with some of those things?
Yeah, that's so. This Friday we have our first administrative meeting, and that following week I'm going to have my first meeting with directors, and then we're going to bring them together for at least 2 admin meetings per month. We might do weekly to start out, but just between that and then, you know, the staff's going to be here, you know, before we know it. So we're excited to have those first in-service days, and to roll out our vision, bring things back from that Fusion Conference, so that way what we learn there we can also push out to our fellow teachers.
Yeah.
As far as personally, we're settled in our house in Elkhart, and just took the kids to the community pool last night, and they had a ball with that. And so there's what is it, Fred? The second Friday of the month.
Second Friday.
They have a street festival in Pulaski, so we're excited to do that in July and August.
Nice.
And
Have you led a board meeting yet?
Kind of co-led it with Fred.
The last 2 meetings he and I have traded back on subjects.
Okay.
Just kind of get a feel.
Well, I don't mean to do this to you guys. I got to cut you off. Let you go again. Mr. Fred Lamkey, Jason Spang, Mount Pulaski Schools, our guests in studio. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.
Clugston in Washington. The 10 Commandments are heading to Louisiana schools.
Louisiana has become the first state to require that the 10 Commandments be displayed in every public school classroom. Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed the bill mandating the display on Wednesday. The GOP drafted legislation mandates that a poster-sized display of the 10 Commandments in large, easily readable font be required in all public classrooms, from kindergarten to state-funded universities. Proponents say the purpose of the measure is not solely religious, but that it has historical significance. Classrooms must display the 10 Commandments by the start of 2025. Keith Peters reporting.
Parts of Texas are getting pounded with rain from Tropical Storm Alberto. In New Mexico, authorities say wildfires have killed at least 2 people and damaged more than 1,400 structures. And more high temperatures are in store today from the southwest to the northeast as the heat wave continues. Russia hit Ukrainian energy facilities overnight, injuring 3 workers and damaging equipment.
It was, said Ukraine's largest private energy company, another difficult